Welcome back to our sports video course. In this video, we're talking graphics, and it's going to get fun. Let's jump into it. So sports graphics are incredibly important to engage viewers and really have an effective production where viewers know exactly what inning it is, what period, what's going on in the game, and help viewers kind of jump into the game. So it enhances the graphics and the viewer experience. It also provides essential information. It's great for post-production. So if you're doing post-production, you can scrub through and check where the goals were, and it really helps for that. It helps with sports analytics, letting coaches kind of know when they're looking backwards and forwards and looking for specific plays. And it makes the entire sports video experience more professional, and it increases engagement. Now, I kind of rank these by priority in the book because you probably, if depending on where you're at, won't do every single piece of this sports broadcasting, but the scoreboard is really one of the top elements, right? And so the scoreboard here, super important. I'm going to use a telestrator today because we're in our sports graphics course. And informational graphics, kind of team rosters, lineups. These come second. They're great to have. They're awesome during the pre-show. During these graphics can really fill those times at halftime and between different periods. We're going to have an entire video, and there's an entire chapter on instant replay. But instant replay is great for adding graphics to your setup. And when we do that, we'll talk about stingers, which are really cool solutions for transitioning between instant replays and live video. And then we have telestration, which we're doing now, social media integration, and things like that we'll discuss in this video. So the scoreboard being one of the most important elements, and it's so important. There's several ways to deal with it, and I'm going to show several ways. One way that we've talked about in this book quite a bit is using a dedicated streaming box, and this is the YOLO box. I also really like the Magewell Director Mini, and it's just a little touchscreen, right? And you can see in the bottom right, I don't have any live video coming in, but you can see right here we have the scoreboard, right? And then right over here on this section of the touchscreen, I actually have the ability to start adding just like simple, like changing the score, right? But you can also like reset the goals, deal with time, right? Do we want to include time? Do we not want to include time? And all this editing. So this is just a super easy way to manage instant replay because it's just all one. Actually, instant replay is actually right here. We'll do that in the next video, but just the scoreboard, just simple, easy peasy, right? We like this. I like it when it's easy. Another thing you can do is you can use a web-based controller, and that's the next thing I'm going to show here. Overlays.uno is such a cool free solution for this kind of thing, and what you can do here is you can actually take your smartphone and control the overlays. So what happens is, and look at this library, it's incredible when you're looking for, scoreboards. If you're looking for tickers, title bars, they've got everything. So you can really get some cool ones that are already designed for the sport you're doing. So whether it's soccer, basketball, literally axe throwing, I mean, there's a lot here. And I already have one loaded up in my library. And so if I go to my library, when you add these, you add them to your library. This one's already here for me. And the cool thing is I've actually got it loaded in to this vMix production right now. So you can see the scoreboard there. I can kind of maybe move that over a little bit. But this is the scoreboard that I actually have control over with my smartphone. And I want to show you how this works. So what you can do is you can double click it and it brings you into their web-based template. And there's kind of two main things here. One is you can copy the output URL. Okay, and maybe this would be a good example. I do this in the OBS tutorial as well, so you may remember this from the OBS tutorial. But what I'm going to do in OBS here is I'm just going to simply add a web browser input, and I'm just going to use the URL that they give you, right? So just use that URL, pop it in there, click OK. And what happens is you get that, let's put that, make that large, you get that right there. So now that is kind of it's an input, right, into OBS, into vMix, into Wirecast, whatever streaming system you're using. You add that in, and then you can control it with your smartphone. And so if I just quickly show you here, if I click the add button, you can see, and it's beautiful too, right? It adds, you can manage the time. You can start the time here, hit play. You can add how many minutes it is and hit play and pause really quickly and easily. And boom, you've got a professional looking graphic for your production. So just to recap here, basically overlays.uno allows you to have just tons of options for free graphics. You can go into those graphics and you get a URL to copy and paste into your streaming software, and then you get another URL. This is the control URL. So this URL in the top right, they both have QR codes, which is great. But the control URL, I just literally scanned the QR code with my phone, brought this up, and then I've got my controller for the web-based system. Now, the cool thing too is that there's all these options for the match time, the drop-down menu. We can customize, obviously, the names of the teams, the logos. All of this can be customized so that it fits specifically to your team and what you're up to. So really, really cool. I'm a fan of this, but you have to remember this requires internet. And a lot of times I'm recording something, not live streaming it, and I don't have internet access, this will not work. So in that case, your live streaming software, and I'm just going to show what vMix has built in, right? This is what vMix has built in, and Wirecast has built-in templates. OBS does not, but there's some really good plugins for that, and I discuss that in my OBS book. But you've got all these different options here. You can see if I click one of these, and I can just kind of show you how this works. I can go into this, and I can start to edit it. This is my editor over here. You can kind of see, 2025 games today, whatever you want to put in there. So there's built-in graphics, right, with your streaming software, and then there are overlays that you can control over the web. So it kind of depends on what you want to do. And then, of course, you've got your graphics that are built into your hardware systems as well. Okay, but that's not all. The other things that are out there a lot of people do is you can do a picture-in-picture. So you can zoom into the scoreboard, right, with a PTZ camera. So let me show you an example of that. I've got an idea for that I think that'll work pretty well. You can do like a layering system, right? So let's say, for example, that this is the scoreboard, right? And the scoreboard is far away from you, right? But you can take a camera and you can zoom it into that scoreboard. And that way, as a broadcaster, you don't have to control it, right? So you can take this and kind of take this layer and set it up so that it's showing the scoreboard in the top right. And it's just super easy. You don't have to worry about clicking the buttons and making sure the time is correct. In fact, if you're doing a lot, and you want to do the scoreboard, but don't do the time. The time is so hard to get right if you don't have a dedicated person doing the time. So there's an example there of an option that a lot of people do. Just zoom a picture in picture. We talked about the web-based scoreboards and then the integrated scoreboards. Now, if you're doing an integrated scoreboard, another little tip is to use a Stream Deck. If you're using the YOLO box, there's actually a YOLO deck. So there's a YOLO deck, there's a Stream Deck. What you can do is you can program them so you can just hit the score, 1, 2, 3, 2-pointer, 3-pointer, touchdown, field goal, make it really easy for managing the scoreboards. Now, another step I just would be remiss if I didn't mention is there is computer vision these days. And so what you can do is you can zoom a camera into a scoreboard and extract the data, okay, from the scoreboard with a camera, and then the software will literally output it via the data so that you can bring that data directly into the scoreboard. So pretty cool stuff. Oh, my telestration didn't work there. So you take the camera, you zoom it into the scoreboard, and you get the data via XML or various data sources that you can bring into the graphics. Now, when we're talking about data, right, into your graphics, Google Sheets is becoming a very popular way to do this. And we're already at the 10-minute mark. I'm not going to jump into how to integrate Google Sheets because it's different for vMix, New Blue Effects, and all of these different solutions. But it's really great in order to get some of these more detailed pieces of information. When I was at Salesianum High School, which you guys saw in a recent video, they had every single player organized by jersey number. So you'd have jersey number, you'd have the name, maybe first name, last name, you would have their image. And so the players actually just had a little keyboard they could hit. And if number 5 scored, they hit number 5 and boom, it brings up their name, their image, their graphic. And so there's a lot of ways where you can integrate Google Sheets with your sports graphics to make it easier. And if you have questions on that, let me know in the comments below, but there's a lot of information about that. Here's a picture of how Salesianum School was using New Blue FX to integrate the images, their grade, their position, their first and last name, and their jersey number all into one easy-to-use system so that when the commentators needed to pull up, they saw who scored, they click a button, everything is automated, which is really cool. Now, we've been using a telestrator throughout this video here today, and I'll show you what I'm using currently is vMix, but there's an NDI telestrator that you can use. And so essentially what it allows you to do is to draw on the live video. And so it's as simple as that, really. There's like shapes and different things. It's pretty good for instruction if you're doing different instructions, things like that. It's really, really cool. You can drop if there's a player, you can drop these cool graphics and animations. You can create your own animations. And so that's what a telestrator is. It allows you to draw on an instant replay, for example. And we'll look at that in our next video on instant replay to really highlight specific areas of the video. And then I'm going to split this video into 2. Because there's a graphics pack, right? And it's a free download. You can download it. It has player spotlight rings, countdown clocks, stingers, scoreboards, and stuff like that. So you can create your own scoreboards and templates. And I'm going to be using vMix for some of the custom stuff, but you can download all of these files and use them. Sometimes they're good for live video. Sometimes they're good for post-production. And so in this next video, it's kind of optional, right? If you want to learn how to create these sports graphics packs with Adobe After Effects, then definitely check it out. If that's a little bit more advanced for you, just skip it. But the next video is going to be creating graphics and the free graphics pack, how I created it for you. So you could skip that, you can just use the graphics that are there, or if you want to learn how to create these graphics, then you can customize them to your team's colors and all of those things. And they're good for post-production, they're good for live production. So it's explained more in the book, but that is it for this video on sports graphics. I will see you in the next one.